Hi everybody, Fintan here from Damson Cloud, and this week I wanted to talk about QBRs or quarterly business reviews, sometimes called ABRs, annual business reviews. We do these with customers. The customers that get them on a quarterly basis have our customer success package, and then with a lot of customers we will do an annual business review of some description, even if they don't have one of those packages, and we'll go through various things with them. And I just wanted to kind of cover what it is that we go through. We did one recently for a customer of ours who's in the travel industry. We actually have quite a few customers in the travel industry. And I just wanted to speak about what we kind of cover in it. So in the account review, we go through kind of usually 3 or 4 areas, depending on obviously the customer's requirements. So we do a little bit of their Google Workspace journey, and we talk about what their usage is. And I'll show you, actually, we'll have it come up on screen, a Google Workspace adoption scorecard. And as a Damson customer, we have access to this if you give us access to it, and we can show you the usage on your account of Gmail and Calendar and Drive and Docs and Sheets and Meet and everything. And it's really, really valuable for kind of keeping an eye on the usage within the company of particular products. If there's low usage of something, why is that, and kind of digging into it and figuring out, is there maybe a training need within the business, or is there a particular reason why that tool has a low usage. We obviously give a customer an overview of their plan, the number of users that they have. We often cover things like the number of administrators is really, really important, the number of super admins on the account. We go through things like storage, how their storage is increasing or decreasing over time. Usually it's increasing. The usage of various products like Drive and Meet and Chat, and does that align with what the customer thinks it should be? So kind of diving into that. If the customer has other solutions like Google Voice or AppSheet or whatever, we might get into a more detailed discussion about that. If the customer has Google Enterprise Plus, they actually get access to what's called Google Workspace Insights, and this gives you even more granular insights into adoption of the productivity and collaboration tools. So what's interesting about this is you can see the level of usage. So not just that someone's using the product, but is it rarely, or has been rarely used, or occasionally used, or frequently used. And that can be really, really useful, again, to get those sort of data insights into how your users are actively using the product. And so we will go through that with customers, usually give them some screenshots from their system, and then teach them how to go and actually use that themselves. Another core area is often Google Meet and Google Meet usage. The number of meetings within a 28-day period, how long are the meetings on average, whether people are screen sharing within them. And I think this one is quite interesting because it shows a level of engagement and collaboration within the meeting. Often for customers, it's around 50%, which is interesting. So different types of meetings, obviously some could be one-to-ones and things like that. But I think it's great because it shows that sort of engagement. And then it also shows the number of recorded meetings. Again, depending on how customers use Google Meet, you might see a high volume of recorded meetings or a low number of recorded meetings. Then we get into sharing graphs, and we show the number of documents within the business that have been shared internally and externally, and whether they've been shared like via the link internally. So this is looking at again, the sharing kind of practices across the business, and it can be useful for customers to dive into in terms of security. They might, as a follow-up to that, look at things like their data loss prevention, their sharing events, and whether there's training sessions needed for teams. So we look at the balance between shared drives and My Drive. Is there too much data in My Drive that should really be in shared drives? Shared drives within Google have far more control. DLP, for those of you that don't know, is data loss prevention. So we might look at areas where customers could implement data loss prevention rules to ensure that data governance. And the data governance piece is really, really important, and it's often what triggers a security review for a lot of customers. There's some interesting features now with Drive and labels and DLP mixed together with Drive labels. We demoed this actually in a recent event. And it gives you the capability to really take large actions on data based on particular factors. So if it mentions a particular word or it meets a particular set of criteria, I want you to add this label and therefore stop it from being shared externally because it's sensitive, for example. So very, very powerful. We then often go into some of the services that the customer has purchased from us. So in this scenario, the customer had a learning needs analysis, and this is run by our customer success team, where they will actually evaluate the learning needs of the users. I'll dive into that in a minute. We'll also look at license management. This customer had what's called PDL, partial domain licensing. So they have a mix of different licenses. Very, very useful, and we're going to do a separate video on this. And it's something that we get a lot of customers to look at. They also had a security review. So we dove into some of the insights from the security review. And then we went through sort of recent support requests and support tickets and queries. And we look for kind of patterns of repeat maybe support requests where possibly there's some training that we could do for administrators that would just reduce the number of those kind of repeat tickets. And then we also looked at some digital transformation, which was around, in their case, around our Google Workspace Academy, which is an online learning solution that we've built on Google Sites, lots of training videos, short and easy to understand. And then our tip of the week as well, which is a weekly email about Google Workspace. So we kind of dove into each of those areas. The learning needs analysis was probably one of the most interesting areas. And what we did there was evaluate the base of users and surveyed the base of users. So hundreds and hundreds of users responded to our survey, and this was the results of that survey broken down into region, into the different products, and what we felt within each product area, the recommendations that we felt that the customer should do. And not necessarily, sometimes with these customers can fear it's like just purchasing more services, but a lot of it was services they already bought from us, like the tip of the week, like the Google Workspace Academy, that was just linking to some of that information more frequently within their own user communication, and with things like tip of the week that maybe we could customize it so that it could maybe help some of these learning areas that we had sort of surfaced from this survey. So really, really valuable data. Actually spent about an hour going through that, because there was just so many insights within it. In terms of the security review, what a customer gets out of a security review, a comprehensive audit, usually about 200 or 300 different settings and things that have been gathered together into a spreadsheet, and what Google's recommended setting is, and then what the customer's is, and then generally sort of a comment, particularly if it's different, on why the customer has this particular setting, if it's maybe less secure or more secure, etc. And generally there will be reasons for that, and that's fine, and we'll have the discussion with the customer about that. We then have a prioritized list of recommendations. We usually use a simple traffic light system, so red, orange and green, and that kind of low-hanging fruit is generally what you're kind of looking for, what you can implement quickly, and then maybe what might take a little bit of time. We'll also go through the latest security releases from Google, because there's new features in Google coming out all the time, and the security ones can be difficult for IT teams to keep up to date with. So we'll often go through the last maybe 6 months to let them know what's available, and what ones maybe we feel are relevant to them as an organization. And then we'll finally have an executive summary, which IT teams like to be able to evaluate for themselves, but also to be able to share internally with their executives, because often the security review is part of a larger or wider security audit that's happening in the business. And then in this particular case, we also spoke about the customer's renewal, because the renewal was coming up. And so we will look at a renewal strategy for each customer, and that will differ from customer to customer. There will be probably some, general things across the board that you could look at. So I'll read out some of them here that any customer, if you're a Google Workspace customer, you could look at. So maintaining the number of users, do you need to maintain the number of users that you have when you're at renewal? Reducing the number of users is the time, obviously, to do that. Are you interested in a individual year contract, a sort of a 1-year contract, or a multi-year contract? Because a multi-year contract, like any provider, you can often get a discount. often customers are evaluating now AI and Gemini AI. So Google will often give discounts and things like that if you add a new product. So again, we'll ask customers, are they evaluating this? Looking at partial domain licensing, I think I mentioned this earlier on. If the customer does not have partial domain licensing, what PDL allows you to do, I've forgotten the name for it now within the Microsoft world, but essentially it allows you to have different plans or SKUs on the same Google Workspace account. So you could have a business plan, say Google Workspace Business Standard, and you could have Google Workspace Enterprise Standard. So you could have those two plans mixed together on the same one. Another very frequent one or common one would be frontline worker, where you have a lot of frontline workers in the business, which is what this customer has been in the travel industry. And so they've hundreds of frontline workers, but then they also have desk-based workers that they want to have the enterprise plans with. So a lot of customers, in those kind of industries will have a mix. And what you're looking at is, do you have that mix right? So again, at renewal, it's the time to check those things out and go, well, do we need more of, the frontline worker, or do we need more of the enterprise standard? And that can be, good to do in the lead up to your renewal. You don't want to be doing it, the couple of weeks before, because that's kind of too late. You want to be, and we'll often talk to customers 60, 90 days before the renewal. So we're having that conversation early, and they're able to make those kind of key decisions. We'll often talk to them about some of the other plans. So as I said, some of the business plans, they're limited to 300 users, but customers might see a set of users that don't need all the full enterprise features. Example might be, maybe you've got not quite frontline workers, but you've got a set of users that only need email or something like that, and they don't really have this kind of security requirements, customer service team or something like that. So we get customers to kind of evaluate those, and we'll talk them through them. And then the last thing that we did with this customer was actually evaluating some third-party solutions. So we resell a lot of third-party solutions. AFI is a backup solution. Patronum is a management tool that we sell that allows you to kind of manage your Google Workspace. And Jump Cloud is a more recent one that we've started selling in the last year or so, which is an identity and endpoint management solution that integrates very, very nicely with Google Workspace. Google have actually announced last year a partnership with Jump Cloud to kind of better together, and Damson is now a Jump Cloud partner. So we were discussing Jump Cloud, this customer, because they're evaluating removing some of their Microsoft footprint, which is the Active Directory, and replacing it with Jump Cloud. Which is the solution that we'd recommend often for Google Workspace customers. So depending again on the customer, we will have different third-party discussions if they already have some plans in place or products in place, or if they're evaluating maybe another one at that time. So I just hopefully that gives you an idea of what we might talk about at an annual or quarterly business review with the customer. And if you're a customer of Damson's, if you'd like to have one of these, please feel free to reach out. We often will reach out to you anyway when it comes to your comes time for your account review. If you're not a customer of Damson's, it's a great time to join us. Check out our YouTube channel, our LinkedIn. We do regular videos on there, and also check out obviously our website. We have a lot of information about the products and services that we kind of sell around this, and a lot of these are sold as part of a kind of customer success package, which is common with Google Workspace partners. So that's it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks very much for taking the time to listen to me. If you are not subscribed, do hit that subscribe button, and I will talk to you guys next week.